What's up, y'all? CLG Lifestyle here with a quick message. Listen, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support the platform. If you're new, I create content revolved around loving self and helping you, discover tools that will help you transform your mind and your body and your spirit and your soul, right? So this message here is for people who, y'all feel like y'all need to have, that you need to like somebody to bless somebody, or that you need to be in someone's good graces to be a blessing to them, right? And so I was just listening to someone talking about, they were talking about David and how King David, and how when his father Jesse had selected him, did not select him, right? If you guys know the story, you know that Samuel was appointed to select the next ruler of the Israelites, and he was told to go to the house of Jesse. And Jesse had 8 sons. Out of the 8 sons that Jesse had, he only called 7 of them to the lineup. When Samuel got to the house, and how it worked back then was that the oil would automatically pour out on the individual whom God had chosen to do whatever assignment, right? And so out of all the sons that were there, the oil didn't pour out. So Samuel was like, surely, do you have another son? Because, I know that God sent me here to anoint one of your sons, and none of them is it. So lo and behold, Jesse says, oh yeah, I do have another one, right? And this is where David comes in, and we're just gonna call him King David because that's who he is, right? So King David comes in, and as he comes in, the Lord tells Samuel, that's him, anoint him, right? So David gets anointed, and then as the story goes, he eventually rules over the Israelites. And we know that Jesus, right? Jesus Christ comes from the Davidic bloodline, right? Now, with that being said, when you read these stories in the Bible, right, they're supposed to give us insight in about our lives, right? So a lot of the things that we read in the Word, it's nothing new under the sun. It's simply what the wisdom of God has preserved for us to have as a frame of reference and to basically glean from, so that we can apply the knowledge, apply the lessons, apply whatever it is that we're needing. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's not for us, sometimes it's for other people, right? So as I was listening to someone, basically give their interpretation of that story, these labels start coming to my head, right? So, people always talk about being a black sheep, or being, the odd one, or weird, or, not being loved and respected and valued by their family members or even strangers, right? And so most times when people have this narrative, it's from a woe is me place, right? They haven't really overcome that victim mentality, right? And that's one of the reasons for the word, right? The word of God is supposed to show us, it shows us the bigger picture, right? It gives us hope to let us know that if this person was able to overcome this, and look what God has done, he can surely do the same thing for me. But a lot of people won't even read the Bible, right? They won't even open the Bible. And so that is an opportunity for you as a disciple, or as someone whom the Lord is using to establish a ministry or to do something, as far as, discipleship, or however God is going to use you for his glory, so that people can see, that they too, right? I don't care where you come from. People can see, your story, and see, how you were able to overcome, right? This is why your testimony and you being bold and unapologetic about what the Lord has done for you, how that is very instrumental in shifting people's perspective and opening the minds and hearts of people who may have once been, blinded by these spiritual truths that are hidden in plain sight, right? You can't go but 2 blocks, right, to find someone who is, depending on where you come from, to see someone that's obviously broken, and their brokenness is manifested through acts of addiction, self-hate. Sometimes people have mastered the art of beautifying their pain, so you don't readily see, their destructive habits, or that they're actually hurting on the inside, right? Because they make it look good, right? But God knows everything. And so oftentimes you just got to be obedient to what God is asking you to do, because it may not make sense to your natural mind and to your eyes, but it makes sense to God. And so what made me want to come on here and give this extended version of the revelation that I received was that it's part of life. Like, the journey of having to go through unfortunate circumstances is part of your life. It is what it is. You can feel bad about it. You can have a woe is me mentality. You can take it out on other people, which is another thing people do. They take it out on others, and it becomes sometimes a generational pattern of dysfunction and toxicity, right? Or you can be like someone like David, right? Or like Joseph. Joseph is another example of just someone who overcame a lot, right? And ultimately, what the enemy had hoped, right, was that through all the trials, through all the tribulations, through all the unfortunate circumstances, that you would become just as evil, or just as demonic, or just as hateful as the people whom the enemy used to keep you down. But you chose not to do that. You chose to be different. And because of that, you're going to be blessed. You're going to experience a life you never thought was possible. You're going to be the ruler, to be the king, to be the leader, to be that anointed one that the enemy hoped you would have never come into the revelation of, because you can't. If you're always in a low state of mind, if you're always feeling sorry for yourself, if you always feel like, you can't overcome your situation, then essentially you're not leaving room for God to move in your life, right? And that's really the spiritual principle here, right? Is that when you are always feeling like someone owes you something, or that you can't overcome, or everything is just me, essentially you're saying that you have no power and that God can't really do anything for you, and that's not true. So the moment you surrender and you say, you know what, God, all of these things happen to me, but I believe that you're going to turn it for my good, there's an automatic shift, and you're going to begin to see how God is going to move in your life, and all those things that the enemy meant for your bad, God is going to use it for your good. You're going to prosper. You're going to make money off of the pain and the hurt. And the same people who didn't think much of you, who didn't think you had the capacity to be confident, or to be wealthy, or to be smart or intelligent, or whatever it is that people used against you, they're going to see that 10 times. With that being said, thank you all so much for listening. I am Corwin Gillian from CLG Lifestyle. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.